Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
I'm in the dark. I have to figure that out. Hang on a minute.
Okay.
I have got to get a ring light.
Hi, Miss Maxine. Welcome back.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, this sucks. Okay.
I can see you better now, Miss Pamela.
I'm gonna go jump on my other computer, I think.
Okay. Happy Monday, everybody.
Monday to you too.
Yes.
Oh my.
We'll wait about another minute or two for some other people to join us.
Be right back.
Okay, no problem. Share my screen. That. Right. Oh, I thought it was frozen for a second. I'm not. All right, let's see. Hi, Miss Lynette. Welcome. Happy Monday.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon to all.
Hello. Did someone else join too? Did I miss somebody?
Hello.
Hi, Miss Sally.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Yeah, I'm making it.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Okay.
So we are going to go ahead and get started. We are going to talk about moving through grief and loss today. If this is your first time joining, my name is Tiffany Hill. I am the site supervisor for Fulton County Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. So on our agenda for today, we are going to talk about the realities of grief, common grief reactions. We're going to talk about some helpful and unhelpful ways to deal with loss. And we're also going to talk about how to support someone that may be experiencing grief. And then also at the end, we'll go through some resources to move through grief and loss. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So let's talk about what grief is. So grief is deep sorrow or distress caused by someone's death. And it's also a natural reaction to loss. So we're also, if you are comfortable talking about if you ever experienced a significant loss of a loved one, how you felt related to that loss, and some common reactions, if you're comfortable, nothing forced during this entire presentation. Well, also the reality is losses happen to everyone, right? So we know that eventually all of us are going to transition to the next life, or if there is an afterlife. So I don't know everyone's belief when it comes to that either. So not only is death considered a loss, but different type of losses could include like a relationship breakup, changes to a ritual that you're used to doing, unemployment could be a loss, financial difficulty could be a loss, reducing your support network, or any type of lifestyle changes can be a type of loss, but also any type of disaster. So think about like any type of natural disaster, such as like a tornado, hurricane, or flood. Not sure if anyone has ever experienced that, but sometimes a lot of times people lose their belongings in natural disasters, right? So we can grieve over losing our items, especially things that we work so hard for. And then last but not least, death. So grief is again, like I said, is a normal response to loss. All losses are significant. So with that, just because it may be someone you may know for a long time or short amount of time or whatever the case may be, all losses can be significant and may impact us at one time or another. It's an emotion that everyone experiences as well. So sometimes you may experience to where if someone passes away, immediately you may feel a specific emotion tied to that loss, or sometimes it takes us a little while to grasp the fact that that person is gone. And so a lot of times I would say it depends on how that person passed away, right? So an example of that will be like, say, you know, someone has been sick for quite amount of time and they're already in hospice care. And so sometimes you may already develop that mindset or already prepare yourself mentally to know that any day now that person may lose their life or die. But also you have to think about those times where it may be an unexpected death, to where someone could have been in a car accident, or they could have been killed by someone else. So, you know, anything that could happen unexpectedly that may still take a little bit of a while for us to go ahead and experience an emotion, because we're so thrown off that it's initial shock. And it's so hard for us to grasp that initially compared to someone that we know that's already, you know, about to transition for some time. Anybody have any comments or can share any, you get what I'm saying? Like, have you all experienced that before?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so and I always say this too, depending on how someone passes away, can definitely have an impact on how we grieve, right? So especially if they passed away in a very traumatic way, then that can also evoke certain type of feelings and emotions out of us. And we can talk about those as well. We're going to talk about those on the next slide, different type of responses that we have. Also, more than one type of loss can happen at the same time. So this can prolong the ability for us to adapt, heal, and recover. Just like the example that I had with someone possibly experiencing like a tornado, hurricane, or flood, and they lost everything as far as material wise, they can also lose a loved one in that same natural disaster, right? And so that can be two losses at one time. You can lose a family member or a friend or a loved one, but also you can lose your belongings. So that could be something that will prolong the healing process or prolong that person's ability to recover and be able to cope with both of those losses at the same time.
Can I say something? Usually, sometimes in disasters, you can not only lose your loved one and your belongings, but you also lose your livelihood, because where you work could have been affected too. And
Yeah.
then you could lose your church, which is usually our spiritual, um, it's our
Outlet.
spiritual guide or outlet, you
Yes.
know. And because one time I lost my job, my ex-husband left. I was changing jobs, and our church was breaking up. And that sent me into a depression. It was just too much for me
Mm-hmm.
to handle. It was just too much for me to handle. It's like everything where I went to get, the places where I went to get comfort was gone, and my job was gone. So it was a lot. It was just too much for me to handle. And sometimes when things come at you like that, it is so rough and hard to get back on your feet and even to gain a positive outlook on life.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, Miss Sally. And that was a wonderful example of, in addition, like to how we can have several losses at one time that overpower one another in so many different ways. And I didn't even think about how the church, like that's your outlet, that was your support system.
Mm-hmm.
So can you, if you're comfortable, like what type of feelings or reactions did you have to losing those things at the same time?
Um, well, I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
First, I was shocked and in disbelief.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I turned angry, but I had no outlet to express that anger. And when I was hospitalized for acute psychological depression, my doctor told me that when you don't have a way to release anger, or you're not the type of person who gets anger out, that anger can turn inward.
Mm-hmm.
And I was seriously contemplating suicide. I mean, I was going to the cemetery every day. I didn't know nobody in that cemetery, but it was like right around the corner from my new job. And I was going to that cemetery every day. And as I told the lady at the behavioral health clinic at Fort McPherson, when I walked in that cemetery, I couldn't hear anything. Even though it was on a very busy street, I couldn't hear the cars. I couldn't hear nothing. And I just longed for the peace of that cemetery because it was so much turmoil in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So she made me promise her I wouldn't do anything to hurt myself, and um, called my sister and told her to bring me some clothes. They're sending me to West Paces Fair Hospital. So,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, it's you you got to be able to get some of these feelings out. You got to have somebody to talk to.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
as I tell my children, it's okay to cry. And see, I was trying to be strong because my mother always told me, you got to be strong for the kids. You got to be strong for the kids. So I was trying to be strong for the kids, but it wasn't doing anything to help me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
But we're going to talk about that too, like ways that sometimes we overextend ourselves,
mhm.
especially with a significant loss, and sometimes we fail to cater to our own needs and what we need, especially when we're told to be strong for other people, or if you're just trying to be strong for other people, to be that backbone for everyone else. And sometimes we forget about, okay, what are our emotions? What are our feelings related to the loss? Which can sometimes cause, just like Miss Sally said, for us to feel very, very sad and angry. And of course, just like she said, that initial shock, disbelief, and then sometimes people are in denial. Sometimes people can be in denial for years or feel like that person is really not dead and that they're going to come back any day now. So some people experience that. High levels of anxiety or distress, meaning like they're really, really worried about the loss. Or some people have acceptance. Some people feel like, okay, I already have come to terms with the loss, or they already anticipated it coming or knew that it was coming. and sometimes they accept it and they're able to move on with their life accordingly. Anyone else have any other common grief reactions that I left off?
I just want to share a grief story. This year started off with something that a lot of people grieved across the U.S. or across the world. Kobe Bryant and his daughter. I didn't really pay attention to basketball, and all I knew was his name. I never even watched him play. But the way you were talking about, the way that it happened, and it was so sudden. I grieved that day for him, his daughter, and all those other people, even though I didn't know any of them. And I couldn't wait for them to finally get the funeral over with, because I couldn't get out of grief until they were done. So we can connect to, you know, that what is, I guess, cosmic energy of, you know, the rest of people who are grieving, just like we're experiencing grief related to all the different things happening in our government and how those types of things affect us. So, you know, it's important to go on and grieve them out. And what I do is I grieve to the point of joy. So I grieve till I laugh, and then I'm good.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Miss Maxine, too, because I grieved as well. I couldn't sleep. The first night I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about his wife, his other children that were left at the home. And then, you know, sometimes it's so easy. People say, how you grieve someone that you don't, over someone you don't know? Or I'm like, it's so easy because we're human. We're human. We have that tendency to empathize and sympathize with other people. And so, and also, especially if you've dealt with or have not dealt with a significant loss in your life, it's very easy to have that compassion for other people. So I definitely felt the same way. It was very, very devastating. It was very devastating. And so that was a shocker.
Well, I didn't feel half as much grief with Kobe as I did with Michael Jackson, because I grew up with Michael Jackson. From the time I was 10, there was always some song, some tour, something with Michael Jackson. And when I was teased and bullied in school, his songs and records was like my escape, was like my hideaway, so to speak. And when he died, oh Lord, I had to pull over in the car, and I just burst into tears. And then my niece called me and she said, have you heard? She said, you're crying, you must have already heard. I mean, and I know for a good 2 weeks, I could not sleep. I didn't hardly want to eat. And I said to myself, Sally, this is crazy. This man don't know you from Adam's house cat, you know. But you know, he had been so much a part of my life, and trying to adjust in those teenage years and going through so much heartache and headache. It was always some song he was singing I could relate to. And so it just devastated me. I thought the world had came to me.
Yes.
And I was 52. I mean, it was like I was a teenager and my best friend had died. Lord have mercy. So you know, it could be that way, even if it's somebody you don't know, but who is so out there in the world, and you hear about them all the time, and you see them all the time, and they doing something all the time, or you're listening to their music all the time. Lord, I don't know what I'm gonna do with Stevie Wonder when Stevie Wonder goes. But you know,
see, that's another thing. Loss of the music, loss of the connection.
Yeah.
That's an emotional connection.
Exactly, very emotional connection, especially if their music was your outlet.
Yeah, and I mean, Stevie's been around since I was 5. I said, Lord have mercy, what am I gonna do when he goes?
He had
But
kids.
you know, and it'll seem crazy again because it's like you don't even know that person. They don't know you, but it's like they're just a part of your life through their music or
Exactly.
through their films or whatever, and you just can't imagine life without them anymore. So
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yes. Miss Lynette, you had something?
Yes. Grief to first last year, 2019. My mom was 92, and we talked every week, every day. And then to see that this year, it just hit harder to lose my birth sister. She passed. She was in hospice and wasn't doing too well. But to see that when she passed, it was just a pain not able to go because COVID was going on at the same time. Funeral arrangements was being made, and to see that not saying goodbye, it just hit harder that I wasn't able to go. I mean, I was able to fly to Connecticut, set up arrangement for my mom and be there. But to see that right now, at the time that this was going on, I couldn't go and say goodbye to someone that I truly love. Gave me my first sewing machine, just whatever, my first everything, fur coat, literally just to say bye. And I'm the baby girl. So that grief just, is like, it's just still there to see. I was able to say bye to my mom, but not to my sister. It was just really harder for me to deal with and still actually dealing because not saying bye to someone you literally love so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's words you can't explain because, you know, that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much it. They are limited and the service was literally on YouTube, but to my nieces and nephew not being there to support them was it was very hard.
Oh, I can imagine. And I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
And I know even with this year, like with COVID going on, and then with funeral services being the way that they are and set up the way they are, like families can't congregate like they typically do to love on each other
Mm-hmm.
and even give somebody something as simple as a hug. You can't do that. It's like, it's terrible. It's terrible. I cannot imagine what that feels like. And I do not want to know what that feel like. But I definitely can empathize with you and say that I especially will keep you in my prayers because I don't know what that feels like, but I can definitely empathize with you, Miss Lynette.
Thank you.
No problem. We're going to talk about some strategies that are not helpful that sometimes we probably have done to ourselves. Self-sabotaging, didn't know that we were doing that. With relation to how we respond to grief and loss. So having that guilt talk, saying we shouldn't feel this way, or anybody ever blamed themselves or felt like they could have done more or could have said more or could have been there for that person more. I know I have felt that way before, or even stigmatizing the losses through social avoidance or rejection. So like staying away from that person, and then or not talking to that person around the time they pass away, and that can make you feel even more angrier or frustrated or upset after the fact because you all were not in a good place. Any type of alcohol or drug use to try to cope with the loss is not healthy either, and that's definitely not a good way to deal with it because it's a part of self-medicating. So self-medicating is not good for anybody, but trying to drink the problems away or try to smoke the problems away is not a good strategy to try to deal with a grief or a loss of a loved one. Anything else that you all can think of that you've known that someone has done or you have done yourself that wasn't very, very helpful?
Mm. Just don't talk to anyone. Pretty much shut down.
Also
Yeah.
isolating, yeah.
That's what I did. I isolated myself.
Yes,
But I
isolation.
did. I felt like I couldn't talk to anyone because everyone kept telling me you shouldn't feel this way. You ought to be glad he gone. Da 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 da. Okay, but I still cared about him. I'm talking about my ex-husband now. So one day I met this guy who told me, he said, my wife left me 20 years ago, he said, and to this day, I don't know why she left. He said, but I'm going to tell you something, Sally. He said, it's okay to still care. It's nothing wrong with still caring, regardless of what a person does to you. If you love them, it's okay to still care. And that helped me so much because everybody else, especially my family, was saying, good riddance, you gotta be glad he's gone. You shouldn't feel sad, la 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 la. But it was a loss. That was a 13-year relationship, 10 years, almost 10 years married. So, you know, it was still a loss. Regardless of what the other person has done, or even what you have done, it's still a loss. But I still kind of, I ain't gonna say I blamed myself, but I did feel partly responsible, you know, because he did travel a lot because he was in the Army, and I only traveled with him one time. And when we
would you say that was associated with guilt, feeling like you could have done more?
That was associated with guilt,
mm-hmm.
you know. So it can be a lot. It can be a lot. And I had to forgive myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes when that guilt come up, you have to take control and know what you did, talk to yourself and know what you did wrong. As I tell people, if you believe in God, God will deal with you first. Then he'll deal with the other one, but he gonna deal with you first. He gonna show you your wrong first. And so I had to deal with that. I had to face that. And then I was able to move on towards releasing feelings and feeling less and less upset. But yeah, I had alcohol use too. I got up to maybe a pint of whiskey a day. So I know how that is.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. Miss Maxine, did you have something?
Yeah, it's important to allow yourself to grieve.
Yeah. Right.
Go on and get it out. I'm one of those persons, I can't hold something because it's a physical pain. You know, the emotional becomes a physical pain. So I have to get it out. I can't allow it to stay or my body gets sick. So I find that it's very important to allow yourself to just get it out. Get it out. Let it go.
Yes, absolutely. That goes right into the strategies that we're going to discuss about what is helpful. But just like you said, Miss Maxine, talk about it, let it out, acknowledge it. Also, if you have those people that are around you in your corner saying you shouldn't feel this way, just say, no, can I please communicate how I'm feeling and let me feel these emotions. You have to feel them, even if they're very, very uncomfortable for you. So those feelings of anger, frustration, if you felt guilty or feel sad, feel those, because it's not going to last forever, but you have to be able to feel those emotions, talk through them, and be able to move forward from it. Because if we mask it by drinking, just like Miss Sally said, then we're not really facing our true feelings because we're trying to medicate ourselves, right? So we can feel better about the situation, which isn't helpful either, because just like you said, Miss Maxine, that starts to impact us physically.
Yeah.
All that stress on the body is not good for us, and we know that. Mm-hmm. Too much alcohol is not good for us either, because that affects our kidneys, right? That affects some of our organs in our system, but also because for our mental state, it's not good, you know? So we have to be able to talk about those feelings and those losses associated with it. And if you're worried about future losses, be intentional about focusing on the present and parts of life that you can control. So I too have experiences as well. So worried about, okay, if you dealt with a devastating loss and you're like, I can't deal with another one right now. Like, I don't want to worry about this other family member next or this family member next. We can't control what happens or when our higher power, I don't know everyone's higher power because it's different for everyone, but you don't know when God or whoever your higher power is will call that person home. So you have to be mindful of that. Just focus on today, focus on what we can control today, and just live each day one day at a time. That's all we can do is focus on one day at a time. But also expressing your feelings through it. I don't know if you art, gardening. I don't know if you all like to garden or like to draw or write. I know we talked about writing before doing another session, but cooking or music or just talking to those that are supportive of us being able to vent and being able to talk about our feelings that are not going to pass judgment, but also be a very good listening ear. Connecting with different types of people. We talked about hosting calls with families and friends. I know Miss Lynette said she had a Zoom call recently that went very, very well. So having those Zoom calls with family and friends to stay connected. We got to stay connected with people. Even though we're inside, there are so many different ways we can still connect with other people. Also, if you ever need grief counseling, support groups, talking to people that have experienced the same things as you have is very, very good, because those people will be able to share similar stories, give good feedback. You all can bounce ideas off of each other on how to handle the grief or loss together as a group. There are different hotlines that you can talk to where someone can give you good feedback. Also seeking spiritual support from faith-based organizations or religious leaders. And so, Miss Sally, were you able to find different spiritual support network for you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, when I was going through my divorce, I was looking for a divorce group. And all of them was way up on the north end, like Sandy Springs and Alpharetta, and I couldn't get up there at the time. So my friend told me, she said, well, my church has a support group, and it was out in Decatur on Rainbow Drive. And she said, you don't have to be a member to come. So I went out there, and that helped me so much to be in the support group with people who have been through, maybe not for the same reasons, but at least have been through divorce, and it helped so much. It did. It helped so much. And I was kind of upset because I said, of all the Black community have a lot of separation and divorce going on, and you would think more churches would have something like that, but they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They
why
don't.
Why do you think that is?
I have no idea, unless people are so egotistical.
Or they can feel that, or
they don't want anybody to know that this has hurt them or this has upset them,
or this has happened to them,
or and maybe we do attach stigma, not stigma, but I can't
stigma.
Stigma, that's it.
Maybe
we attach stigma to those who go and get help for behavioral things like this, and so we tend not to go, But then that's probably why we have a high rate of crime, or Black on Black crime too. So,
You said a mouthful, Miss Sally. But you're right. Like it's stigma.
I guess I'm talking too much, but this.
Oh no. No, when I say you said a mouthful, it's the truth. It's a stigma around our community seeking help, asking for help. We have to be comfortable asking for help, even if you're not comfortable going to grief counseling, but just finding a network of people that have experienced the same thing as you are, or that can give you some positive, healthy coping skills and feedback so that you can express yourself.
Right.
We all need it.
And I got a lot of good feedback and a lot of good coping skills from the different members of that group and what they had been through and how they handle things. And it just helped me so much.
I'm glad.
Because for one, you're not the only one in that boat, and that helps.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you feel like you're just out on an island all by yourself when you're experiencing so much loss and grief. But in the support group, you're not by yourself, and it helps so much.
Can I ask Miss Lynette something?
Yes.
Hey, Miss Lynette, Do you have a lot of good memories of your sister?
Uh-huh.
Well, my sister passed away a little over a year ago as well. And one of the things that I do now, when I think about her, I laugh because I think about all the good stuff. And and it that brings me joy, just thinking about the good times. So, I just encourage you, that's something that helped me. So if you want to talk.
Thank you. I mean, that's how I do when it comes to, my mom, and she had dementia, and I always think to her and do reminders early morning and afternoon before she lay down. But for the sister, it's all true. What you're stating is just not that part. Is the part not able to say goodbye to someone that you lost before, like, family members get to pick, a flower, a rose, which was all white for her that I ordered and sent to her. And then you get to place something in or take something back. And to not have that, it's the part that's harder to let go. It's like it's not the word, I guess, peace, unsettled, because that part is the hard part to learn to handle. Because to lose someone, I've lost quite a bit of family member. I was always able to say goodbye in some form of way, but this was totally different for me.
Right.
To see that I wasn't able to say goodbye with someone who always there for my wedding, my child, whatever, occasion, and not to have that. Her birthday, we did lunch. Just those things were very, not saying bye to her at her last moment that I'm not going to get to talk to her anymore. You know what I mean? That's the hard part.
Yeah.
But you're right. I do think of the memories. I'm, sewing machine. I still have that. She gave it to me first time I ever sewed. I still have it. I've moved how many times, and that thing comes with me everywhere. I've been here to Georgia now 19 years, and that came with me. I don't care what didn't come besides my children. I still have my first sewing machine she ever gave me. And
Did you say children?
Now. It does not work because it consistently run. I can't really sew with it, but it's because the person who gave it to me, So, right. So thank you for that.
Okay. Have you ever heard of Memorial website?
You said a Memorial website?
Memorial website. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't.
I haven't.
No.
I've heard of Legacy, but not Memorial.
Well, that's just a type, because there are many different types, but it's just a type of, it's a way that you can express your grief virtually, also, since we're not able to go
to funerals,
physically a lot of times now. And if you, I can think, because there's one that's really, really good. I'm in the process of creating something similar, but not quite like this. But something that you might appreciate is to be able to go to that site and you can put up a picture of your sister. You can, they have the one that I'm thinking about. It's like virtual flowers, but it's a way for you to express that, even though, you can't do it in the tangible, but that might be something too, because a lot of people use those now.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Very good idea, Miss Maxine.
Or maybe you can have like I don't know if any of your other family is here, but maybe you can get together with some friends, because when my nephew died in July, we weren't able to go to Connecticut because they were only allowing 10 people. It was 25 people into the funeral home. And we weren't going to be able to be one of the 25 because he had children and wives and such. But what my niece did, his sister did, was she had like a memorial for him down here. And then they decided to just go on ahead and cremate him up there with no memorial. So we had a memorial service down here for the family that was down here. And we went to the park, and each one of us got up and said something, a funny memory, a precious memory we had of him. And then we released the balloons up to him. And I just found out day before yesterday that that's bad for the environment. But it might have been bad for the environment, but it was good for our spirits.
Right, and we all do it all the time. We all do it.
You know, we attach little notes to the balloons about him, or telling them bye or whatever, and we released them, you know. And then we went back to the house and had a little dinner. And that kind of took the place of the funeral, the repast and everything. And it helped to be able to let go, because you could write on the little note anything you wanted, whether it was goodbye or I miss you or I'm sorry I was. I mean, you could write whatever you wanted on the paper, you know, and just tape it to the string. And it was so releasing. It felt so good to let it go. It's like you let your grief go along with it. Mm-hmm. So that helped, and maybe you can do something like that with your friends or other family members that may be here with you.
I love that idea, Miss Sally. I love that, especially because you said you can write a note on it and you can put it on a balloon and just go up to that person. You know what I'm saying, right. Per se. And I think that's awesome. Lynette, you may, I think that'd be good too to possibly try it. If you like want to write a letter of goodbye to your sister, whether, I don't know if you like to write or journal, or even just like Miss Sally said, like write something attached to a balloon, just send it right up there to her. Or if you just want to, I don't know if you feel comfortable with like having a conversation, sometimes talking it out. But sometimes a lot of times we all create memories or rituals that we like to do every year. So whether that be gathering for that person's birthday or for their death anniversary. But I know right now gathering is not an option, but getting on Zoom, if everyone wants to share memories on Zoom, or I know a lot of times, do you all have Facebook? You know, Facebook, a lot of times people like to share memories on Facebook about a loved one. And sometimes people share stories and share things that no one else has never known, and it makes you laugh, it makes you smile, and it just makes you think of all the good times that you had with that person. So I would definitely suggest doing that too, Miss Lynette.
Thank you.
Yeah, that may be helpful. I love that idea, Miss Sally.
I put the website address in the chat. If you want to visit that, that's an example. That's just one example of the memorial website.
Forevermiss.com. Okay.
Thank you, Miss Maxine, for sharing that.
I'm giving that way because I'm in the process, but my goal is to have mine ready at the start of the year. It's not going to be like theirs. Mine is a different focus, but yeah.
Okay. I love that. I think that's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's what more conversations like these are helpful, especially with other people that have experienced losses and have done various things. My computer froze. Okay. There we go. Bounce ideas off of each other. Miss Sally just gave me a couple of ideas. So, which I think are very helpful, as well as Miss Maxine. So that website is very helpful too. And that gives you something to build upon and keep going back to. Can you keep going back to refer to some of the things that you post on it and you write? Miss Maxine, you can keep posting on it?
Yeah, in fact, they have a lot of different choices that you can put up there. You can set it up so that other people, family members, friends, can also come to the site and can share in that as well. You know,
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
And they'll allow you to create one free, and then if you want to, you know, move to a different level of it, you can get some. But just the free one, it's a lot that you can do with it.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
We've already started talking about how we can support someone experiencing grief. We've given one of the most important things is giving that permission to grieve. So we've said that already, having that permission to grieve, having that ability to express yourselves and your feelings, but also some of the things that we talked about are different ways to have coping strategies. Some of the creative things that we've talked about so far are different coping strategies, but asking open-ended questions to determine someone's emotional state. So different open-ended questions could be, how are you feeling today? And so that gives that person that open answer to say, how are they truly feeling? So open-ended means not asking questions that will result in a yes or no. So the difference is, I wouldn't ask you, well, are you feeling sad today? Because that's not open-ended, because you're either going to say yes or no. I want to know, okay, if you are feeling sad, what are some things that are causing you to feel sad that we can talk through together? So, and encouraging them to share those concerns with you. So also, maintaining some routines as much as possible. So even if we lose someone, still trying to have that same routine so we don't lose sight of that. And also spending time doing activities that the grieving individual enjoys. So being able to be there for that other person. So if they say, oh, I want to garden tomorrow, being available, being that support for that other person and gardening with them. So being there physically with them, or even just being able to pick up the phone if they need to call you to talk and have a conversation, is also important for someone that's experiencing any type of grief. What are some any other calming or coping strategies that you all do that we haven't talked about yet?
I think we did, but I journal. I just write.
Yeah.
I like to look at pictures.
I write, and I color. I have an adult coloring book, so I color, and I just started a art class. Literally, it's not on the site. I watch it on TV, and the last class was Thursday. Literally, I drew a blue jay. Never thought I had it in me.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, this is it right here.
Oh, that's pretty.
Nice.
You drew. Wow. You're artistic.
And that's my first time, so I keep keep my mind active, and do things.
Good.
Yeah.
So that's how, literally my first time ever, and then the guy just took his time and teach it is right on TV, and I literally take the time to take the class. Literally, it's beautiful. Not at the center; it's literally on TV. It's a class how to draw.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I did it on my folder, literally.
Yeah, you did a great job. My bird would not have looked like that.
Mine either.
It would have been a stick figure.
Bird watching. I literally take the time to be outside and see all the color birds, and actually been feeding them, just enjoying the outdoors, which I love the most. Yeah. So that's how I, try to find an outlet that brings me joy and to feel good. Because it's like, the feeling is there no matter what. So I try to rise above it and think of something else that's a little bit, try to do positive. I try not to do the negative, the TV and all the news and everything that goes on. It gets to be harder. So I try to do the positive for myself, pretty much.
Can I say something? Miss Lynette, I hear you saying a lot, I try. You're not trying, you're doing it.
You're doing it.
You're doing it.
I am.
Yes, you are
not
doing
trying,
it.
you are.
No, I am.
Yes.
Change the word, start practicing. I
am.
There's a different energy.
I am drawing. I am coloring. I am accomplishing. Yes.
Yes,
yes.
You are. So
and are you still going on your walks too, Miss Lynette?
Right in my backyard, in my yard. I still do, even though I have allergies severely. I just enjoy it each day, literally.
Yeah. Keep doing those too. Staying one with nature. But yes, I agree, Miss Maxine. Take that try. You're doing it. You're doing a great job at it too.
Thank you.
Keep it up. Keep it up. Keep it up. The same resources for you all that I tell you about every week, but just a reminder, our phone numbers, our contact information. If you all need any type of grief counseling, we do have therapists that are available. So if you ever need to talk to someone about what you're experiencing or what you're going through, please feel free to give us a call. We'll be more than happy to service you and be able to talk to you. So please do not feel like you are by yourself. Miss Lynette. Yes.
I guess my question is, my doctor actually did give me a number to go to, and I just didn't because I didn't want to waste anyone's time, because for me, I've been more quiet since my sister passed than ever. Mm-hmm. So I talk every now and then, but when it comes for me to do it, every week or whatever, I shut down. I literally would like to take the time to do it, so I will be in a better place, but
yeah,
I just don't feel like opening up about it because it's painful.
Yeah. But you know, the beauty with therapy is you determine how often you would like to talk to someone. So even if you don't feel comfortable talking to someone every week and you want to check in with a therapist every other week, or even if it's once a month, that's totally up to you. But don't feel like you have to be by yourself and bottle in all of your emotions and keep quiet, because keeping quiet is not helping either. You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to talk through all those emotions that you're going through. You have to get it out.
Can I tell Miss Lynette? I'd like to tell you that I understand how you feel, because when I first started going to Grady Behavioral Health, with my depression and things I was depressed about and losing my memory and stuff, I didn't want to talk to anybody either. And for the first 2 sessions, I think I sat there and didn't say anything. And it was, I don't know, my therapist kept talking. And if I didn't want to say anything, he didn't force me to, he let me do my 1-word answers, but eventually he said something that just struck a nerve, and I just went to talking. And my goodness, I didn't know I had so much in me. He had to literally shut me up, it just flooded, So sometimes it's not necessarily, a lot of times you don't feel like talking. But if you go, eventually somebody will say something that will just hit a nerve. And before you know it, everything's coming out of you. Mm-hmm. So I strongly recommend, and I guess I shouldn't, but I strongly recommend that people go to behavioral health whenever they're dealing with a loss or anything else that's troubling them.
Did you feel better afterwards, Miss Sally?
Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, yes. I talked. Before I knew it, I was talking, I was crying, everything. And I felt so much better just releasing the feelings and everything. So even down to feeling guilty because I wasn't there when my sister died, and I had promised her that I would be with her. And so I was dealing with that guilt, and that was back in 2016. And, I just felt so much better. And then he had me to write her a letter, which made me feel even better after I wrote her a letter. Didn't have to mail it, didn't put it on a balloon or anything, but just getting it out of me helped me feel so much better. So, and getting coping skills. Deep breathing and all that. So, it helps so much.
It does.
Even when you don't feel like talking, even when you don't have anything to say, eventually somebody's going to say, especially on the support group, eventually somebody's going to say something that will hit a nerve. And before you know it, you're talking.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say to that is I would rather someone not hit a nerve to break it out.
Yeah. True.
Rather
it would be easier if you just let it out yourself. But
Yes, I'd rather someone not hit a nerve. We just gradually get to it, because that's the process of therapy too. I used to
Right.
do therapy and counseling as well, and one of my methods is I always like to. I have the client is in charge of the session. The
Right.
client is in charge of what we discuss during every session, but also as far as what they're comfortable with discussing and what they're not comfortable with discussing, because that's how you build rapport and build a relationship.
Right.
And so eventually we will get to discussing what that loss meant to you, but also you have to gradually get there. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure that's what your therapist.
I guess that's what I really meant, you know.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
I ain't mean hit a nerve. I didn't mean it like that, but I mean eventually they'll keep talking about different things, and then you hit on something that'll make you start talking. I'll say it that way.
Yes, absolutely. No, you're right. Yeah, we're going to get to it, but it's going to be a process. So we are here if you all need us. And then you have the crisis and access line and suicide prevention line number if you all need it. But please take care of yourselves. And if you all, any type of resource that you need are available online, but also take some time to think about some of the things you like to enjoy with that person, or that you want to continue to, some things that the person likes to do that you want to start doing to commemorate that person. You know what I'm saying? That might make you feel better as well. So
thank you.
Virtual hug.
Virtual hug.
Hi, Miss Lynette.
Yes,
and Miss
Maxine. So much love.
Thank you.
All right.
Next time we'll talk about dealing with depression and other mood disorders. Next Monday is Columbus Day. It's a holiday. We're closed, but they're going to let me know if I'm going to continue on next Tuesday or not. So stay tuned. You may receive a message probably via email about when the next one will be.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I enjoyed you all as always. Y'all are a pleasure.
All right.
Thank you, ladies. Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.